Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to another episode of my podcast and around Pleasant Hill with Alex Khodadad. I'm excited. This is actually going to be our sixth episode. It's amazing how time is flying by. And I have a guest with me today that she means a lot to me. She's a very close friend of mine. Miss Pappas, how are you?
Hi, Alex. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you so much for asking. So as always, do me a favor and subscribe and let your friends know about my new podcast. And the purpose of this podcast is to be an inspirational and an educational journey for all by me interviewing local, business owners, local community leaders, and to be able to help our listeners go from where they're at to where they want to go be. So, Mrs. Pappas, I want to thank you so much. Mrs. Pappas is the principal of Valhalla Elementary in Pleasant Hill, and that's actually where my both of my kids go there also too. And the title of this podcast is going to be local leadership. So I'm going to give it to you and let our listeners know a little bit about your background to start out with, please.
Thank you, Alex. Please call me Theo or Theodora. My name is Theodora Pappas, and as you said, I'm the principal of Valhalla Elementary School. And I was going to give you a little bit about my background. I just wanted to let everyone know I started here at Valhalla Elementary School in the middle of September. So as we know, the previous principal, Lisa Keck, who is a close friend and colleague, she accepted the position over at Sequoia Middle School, where she had been a vice principal. So after she got that position, I knew there was going to be a position open here at Valhalla Elementary School. And I immediately, the first time Lisa had mentioned that she was applying to possibly go back to Sequoia Middle School, I just had that great idea, what a great opportunity it would be for me to come over and be here. So as I said, I did start as the principal of Valhalla Elementary School officially in the middle of September of this year, of last year, 2020. A little bit about my background: Theodora Pappas. I am Greek American. Both of my parents were born in Greece, but I was born in Berkeley, California, and went to Berkeley High School. I will not tell you what year. Just kidding. Went to Berkeley High School and graduated from UC Davis. And my mom worked for the Greek consulate in San Francisco, and my dad had a restaurant in San Pablo, but he was very involved in city politics, city council, Rotary, always involved in the community. So I had an idea as a young Pappas that I wanted to be an ambassador. I wanted to see the world. I thought that was my calling. And at UC Davis, I was given the opportunity to apply to be an intern at the consulates, at the embassies. And I applied for the consulate of Greece the embassy of the United States in Athens, Greece. And I did that for 6 months. And I thought this was going to be my calling. And I was not that into it. So even though I liked the culture and I liked the idea that I might be able to travel, I was not into the actual work. I thought it was, bureaucratic. I didn't see, council members making changes. I knew it was a lot of paperwork, a lot of visas, I wasn't feeling it. So after I came back and graduated from Davis, I went to Cal State Fullerton to get a master's degree in political science because I was still interested in the topic. And I thought I could teach at the community college. And to make a long story short, after getting my master's in political science at Cal State Fullerton, I decided to receive a position in Antioch teaching 12th grade government and econ at Deer Valley High School. And that was the beginning of my career of education. And that was awesome. As I said, I studied, I was ready for, political science and economics and, loved teaching at that level, 12th graders, getting ready to go to college. And as I was there for 5 years, several of the vice principals and principals said, you have leadership skills. So let's develop your leadership skills. So I got my administrative credential from Chapman. I got both my teaching credential and administrative credential from Chapman, which is now called Brandman University. and I became an administrator. I became a vice principal of a middle school in San Ramon. Then I became the vice principal over here at Foothill Middle School. And I was there for 6 years, and I love middle school and I love secondary. And when my principal, April Bush, whose mother coincidentally taught here at Valhalla Elementary School for 30 years, Mrs. Stein, when April announced her retirement, and she said, what are your next steps? You're not going to, continue to be a vice principal, for a new principal. Are you going to apply to be a principal here? Are you going to, go be a vice principal at Northgate? That was a position offered. And even though I, love the Walnut Creek community, I was really, thinking out of the box. And I said, maybe I'll try elementary school. So I went down to MDUSD Human Resources and said, do you guys have something in elementary school? And they said, hey, don't you want to go to Northgate High School? They know you, the community, you're a member of the community. And I said, I'm really ready to try a challenge. I want to work with our youngest learners and their families. And I really was ready to just get out of the box and do something new. After how many years? 16 years in secondary, I said, give me a chance at an elementary. And Alex, I know I've told you before, I was a vice principal at Cambridge Elementary School in Concord. And then when and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about curriculum. I learned a lot about, of course, reading and math, but a lot about social emotional growth and connecting to the community and really building our youngest scholars. And that's something, it got me right here. I love elementary school. And as I said, when my friend Lisa Keck mentioned something to me about, applying for Sequoia, and immediately in my mind, I said, I'm going to get Valhalla. I'm going to go to Valhalla. So I came over in August, and that's when I met you, Alex, and I met the community when Lisa Keck was transitioning over to Sequoia. I came in here to help, and I just completely fell in love with the community, the students, the families, the teachers. We have, as you know yourself, we have the best teachers. Of course, all MDUSD teachers are the best, but we really have a very special group of educators here at Valhalla. And this is where I've been, and I applied and interviewed for the position, and I'm so grateful to get the position here at Valhalla, and officially started in September.
Well, we're
middle
really
of September.
We're really happy to have you. Now,
Thank you.
Again, the title of this podcast is Local Leadership, and you said something. You said, they saw that by leadership skills. Like, what does that look like? Like, how can you look at someone and see that leadership skills? You want to get a little bit more into detail. Is that something you're born with, or is that something that you earn, or you learn as you go?
I think both, and I see you, Alex, as well as a community leader, and that's local leadership, community leaders, positive leaders. I think when you first become an educator, you really care about your classroom, and you really focus on how to have the most nurturing, positive, comfortable setup for your students in your classroom. And then when you kind of get a handle on that, then you start thinking, how's my grade level doing? How are the other 12th grade government and economics teachers doing? What can we do to work together? So then you start collaborating, and then you start caring about the whole school. And that was that perspective, as I said, both my vice principal and my principal, we call it a tap on the shoulder. They tapped me on the shoulder and they said, you're ready to start taking on whole school issues. So I think the first step is to really care about not what's going on in your business or in your household, in your community, and to really have that care, that you care about what's happening. Like I've seen it with my own eyes, Alex. You really care about the community of Pleasant Hill, not just Valhalla, not just the feeder pattern, but you really care about the community. So I think that's the first step to being a positive leader.
Right. Thank you.
The second step is having I'm looking for a better word, but the caring. So you care about the community, but you have to care about people. And I think, of course, we can look at test scores and we can look at data. And I am a data person. I do look at data, and I do look at, different, points of information. But I think in order to be a true community leader, as you yourself are, Alex, you have to care about people and take the time to get to know them and their stories.
Yes.
Because how can you serve your community if you don't know who your community is?
Yeah.
So that's why, Alex, I've always encouraged you with all the community events that you do. It's you're getting to know your community and building capacity within your own group.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I think those are the most important parts about being a leader is really listening, looking at data, but also really looking at the anecdotal stories and evidence of what's going on in the community so that you can serve your community when you know what you have and then what you need in order to grow.
Right, right. So, Theodora, last year, I mean, you became the principal of one of the top-rated elementaries in East Bay, and and right in the middle of a pandemic, like tell me about your challenges. We want to hear your challenges. Like, how were you able to
Sure.
go through?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, and I was able to squeeze in right in August and help with they call it all-in-one days. So I was able to briefly, of course, wearing a mask, being socially distanced when families came just to pick up their materials. But besides the material drop-offs and pickups that happen every 2 weeks, I wasn't able to see the students and the teachers in person. So it was surreal to be, I became a principal during a time when the only people that were required to be on campus was myself,
Yeah.
our custodian, Mr. Ken, who truly is a community leader and a very strong, positive leader here at Valhalla Elementary School. He's an institution. He's been here for 32 years. I mean, he knows,
Yeah.
he is a heart and soul of our school.
Absolutely.
So it was myself, Mr. Ken, as you know, Mrs. Melissa, our office manager, and then it was the three of us coming in every day and looking for ways to connect with students and families. And then eventually we hired our office secretary, Ms. Rebecca, who's another wonderful addition. But in the beginning, as I said, it was myself, Mrs. Melissa, and Mr. Ken. And that's how we had to get creative in ways of communication and building capacity. And, at Cambridge, we used one platform, and at Valhalla, they used another platform. So getting to know different platforms. So we started the SMORE newsletters, and we call them the Valhalla Pride of newsletters of what's going on here at school to communicate. And with the teachers, they have our weekly newsletters called the Valhalla Vibe. And so being able to utilize all of our platforms to communicate electronically, going into Zoom classrooms, getting to know students and their teachers, going into Zoom classrooms, if you can believe it,
Yeah.
and utilizing the time and pick up and drop off.
Now, I really think this pandemic is really going to make or parents are going to rethink that and be more grateful to teachers, because for the last year they've been the teacher taking care of the
Yeah.
kids in the house and probably going crazy, right? And now you got a teacher in a classroom of 30 students, and now maybe they will be more grateful. I mean, I know that parents are grateful, but
I
maybe
think they are.
even more grateful of saying, "Wow, these they are superheroes." I mean, they're
Exactly.
wonderful.
Thank you. And I think one of the positive parts is that really building that relationship with families and their teachers, because it's no longer can you just not that Valhalla families ever just dropped off their kids and just picked them up at the end of the day, but it really strengthened those partnerships. Like when I met and finally on March 25th, when we finally opened, under all the safety guidelines. And I was, saying hello to people, and I had families and students. I said, hello, I'm, Miss Pappas, your principal. And I had so many, as I said, kids and parents that said, I know you, I've seen you on Zoom. And it was awesome to hear that. I know, or a parent would introduce a child. Oh, that's your principal. I know her from Zoom. And one of the strong parts is that I'm used to going into a lot of classrooms daily, and parents didn't really know how many classrooms you would cover in a day. But with the Zoom, and a lot of parents had access to their kids Zoom, they'd be like, oh yeah, Miss Pappas does go to, a lot of classrooms. That was one of the benefits, definitely being able to utilize the Zoom platform to get into classes, to get to know my teachers and my students. And then especially during conference week and back to school night, I was able to attend back to school night and get to know the community really well, and doing things on Twitter, on Constella. I know the VPFA is so positive with their communication using Constella. And one of the things I've spoken to Dr. Adam Clark, our superintendent, he streamlined the communication for the whole district. So he, purchased Parent Square, which is an app and an email, so that the whole, almost 30,000 students can now communicate through Parent Square. Because as I said, at Cambridge, we used Class Dojo. At Valhalla, we were using Constella. At, other sites are using other ways of communicating, S'more, Constella, I mean, so many different things. And that's something that I'm really grateful for Dr. Clark, is that he, rolled out, people are using Infinite Campus. I mean, there are so many different School Loop, right? So many different communication tools. And he purchased Parent Square for all of us, and we're using it. It's very user-friendly. So communication, being able to explore different tools of communication has been very important during this pandemic, especially.
Right. So Theodora, you were talking about Zoom. The fact that students have been on Zoom for the last year, is this going to have an impact on the years to come in their future
Sure.
study? Will this have an impact, do you think?
Sure. I mean, we've all, how could it not impact? But I know that some educators and leaders have been talking about learning loss, but I think we need to view it as the opportunities that a lot of us, 70% of Valhalla did come back for hybrid in March. We have another of the students that didn't come for hybrid, a lot of them are here in summer session. So we are continuing to grow capacity, get to know each other, and really focus on our social emotional learning and the connections. And I'm sure, I'm positive that the education, it will come with it as we are comfortable coming back to school. I mean, you should see, I remember March 25th, honestly, it was just so exciting, where we just had 100 kids come to school at Valhalla. And then they came again. No, they just came back that Thursday. And then, we let out for spring break. And then we had the whole Group A kids come, 200 kids. And then that Thursday we had all of Group B kids come. And so we had, 400 out of, 560 kids come in. As I said, we have another 130 kids here at summer session. So even though I know that, some people want to focus on the loss that's happened, I really want to focus on the positive and this opportunities that we have had. As I said, I feel that the partnerships between teachers and parents has really grown. And not just with parents. I have grandparents here, aunties, uncles, childcare providers. I think it's really strengthening all the partnerships that we have here in the district, not just Valhalla, but the whole district. A lot of growth and really relationship building.
Absolutely. So, Theodora, what is it going to look like in the fall? Can you give us a little snapshot of that, like future look?
I appreciate the question. And I know that, we've had leadership meetings, leadership meetings with the whole district, with Dr. Clark, leadership meetings with Marge Kalbeck, and we talk about different things. I know that there's the Cal OSHA laws. I know that there's different articles that have come out. So I know that from what I understand, I don't mean to overstep, but I know that we will be, full time starting August 12th. I know that's kind of early, August 12th, we're super excited. Can't wait. We are enjoying summer session, but we are, also very excited for August 12th. And then it's easy for me to say, oh, I think things will be back to normal, but what is normal? I know that, most adults have had the opportunity to become vaccinated. I know kids from 12 to 18 also have the opportunity, but we know that it's not available for elementary school students. So I know that we'll be looking to the school board and Dr. Clark and his executive cabinet to see what it'll be looking like in the fall. And I think, Alex, a great idea. I think, we're good at keeping in touch to do something like this. when we have more information, maybe in the beginning of August,
Right.
and we can, push it out to the Valhalla families, or, the community about what the new normal is going to look like, right? Like we haven't, an issue I just thought of, that we haven't had on campus, we haven't had food on campus, right? What's lunchtime going to look like? We know that I've hired this amazing cafeteria manager. She is actually a Valhalla graduate. She went to Valhalla Elementary School, and we've met and talked about what it's going to look like. Usually at Valhalla, we eat outside in our beautiful amphitheater. But from what I understood, I know one of the decisions is that all students will most likely be eating outside, and it's going to be a kind of a brown bag situation. But there's a lot of details that we don't know. Yep. So it's, there's going to be a lot of information that I know, and I know that June 14th is a big date. There's a lot of information will be going out. I know that, I'm sure that our governor and our our superintendent of all the California schools will be having a lot more information coming out soon.
Yep. You said something. You said the cafeteria manager went to Valhalla Elementary, and in the beginning of our when we started the podcast, you stated that you worked for the embassy of U.S. embassy in Greece.
Yeah, I interned at the U.S. embassy in Athens.
Yeah, in Athens, and you said that I was issuing visas or doing this, but I think as a leader, it's that fulfillment. Like you don't feel fulfilled. I mean, like who gets a visa and then comes back 20 years later to thank you, right? But
yeah, exactly.
Or being a teacher, like when I went back to my high school after 30 something years, and I saw my teachers, I walked, they didn't recognize me, but I recognized them. I walked up to them and I hugged them and I said, thank you, because of you, because of what you did to me 35 years ago, I am who I am today. That's something that leaves behind a legacy. And that's what you've done. You're leaving behind a legacy. You can't do that by issuing visas.
No. And actually, I had another internship I don't think I ever told you this, Alex, because I remember I told you I love Egypt and I'm so interested in Egyptian history and the monuments. I actually interned for 7 months at the Egyptian consulate in San Francisco. So I really thought I was on that track to become involved in the foreign service. And I've always loved kids. I have 7 goddaughters. I have cousins, and I'm the fun auntie. And I just became an official aunt. My brother had a kid in January. And I truly, truly, truly love children. And I hope that shows in every interaction I have, regardless if it's with a teacher or a student or, the post office lady. I, love students, love the community, love educators. So I hope that shows in all my transactions.
Oh, we already see it. And we're grateful to you, your staff, everybody at Valhalla, and all the other schools, all the teachers, principals that done so much for our children.
We've been hosting Hidden Valley. They're under construction, and they're an awesome group. I'm working closely with their vice principal, Christian Nolt, and we have 9 teachers with 15 kids each approximately, and he has his campus, 9 teachers. Well, they have about 15 kids each as well. So it is, really collaborating, and we're so happy to be hosting Hidden Valley Elementary School. So it's awesome.
Awesome. So we're pretty much running out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to cover, Theodora, before we go?
I really want to thank you. I want to thank teachers, and I really want to thank parents and students for all of this flexibility and the grace and the kindness that they've shown us. I know that I've made a few mistakes. I know that, maybe a teacher our teachers don't make mistakes. I know, but just the teamwork and the community spirit that has come out of this pandemic is probably the silver lining in what was a very, very weird year, in a year and a half of some kids coming to school, some kids not coming to school, different levels of quarantining within family structures. I haven't seen my best friend from high school in over a year because she's medically fragile. So of course we have FaceTime and Messenger and all these different things, but it's not the same as hanging out. So as I said, we're all using our different communication tools to focus on the positive, and hopefully this pandemic is coming to a close, hopefully.
God willing, God willing. Well, I want to thank you. I thank you for everything you've done for our school, for our community. I'm grateful to
Thank
you. I
you.
really appreciate you.
I do too.
All right. All right. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Do me a big favor. Please make sure you guys subscribe to my podcast, and please share this with family and friends. And we would love for you to leave us a 5-star review. Again, thank you for tuning in, and thank you,
Thank
Theodora.
you.
See you later.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.